Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rumors of Heresy. My name is Adam and I went to a Rogue Trader tournament recently at a place called Collectormania. I play in the Denver meta, which is a really competitive, crazy, scary one. We're facing Tyranids and Invasion Fleet and it's scary. And hey folks, before we jump into all of this stuff, just want to remind you, if you want to support this channel for free, if you like videos like this, if you want me to keep making them, I would really appreciate just hitting that like button, hitting subscribe, and even leaving a comment, even if it doesn't say a whole lot. It helps. Any kind of engagement helps push the algorithm in the right direction, and I would really appreciate your help. I do already appreciate it. You guys are amazing. Let's get to 1,000 subs, shall we? Let's do it. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the video. This guy is one of the few Tyranid players who's actually beat me. Now, I know that sounds fairly cocky, of course. I've just had some good success against Tyranids, and I haven't been playing for very long. I've been playing for 3 months now, maybe 4, something like that. I'm starting to stop keeping track, but I went to GT after I'd been playing for 2 months. I went 4-2 with the list you're seeing now. Now, I'm not using this particular list, and I've actually been working on a Gladius list that I want to play in future tournaments, but it's not ready yet. It hasn't been painted, and so we're using some old they're not old models, but the models from the old list. Here's the old list. The big problem, of course, and I did a big report on the GT. You guys can go find it in on this channel just a little bit before. I'll try to remember to put a link there, though. There's a lot of links I always promise to put in, and that one's probably the least important. I did a couple videos on that GT and just analysis on how the list worked. The final analysis of this list, the final condemnation, was I couldn't score secondaries. Every player besides my final opponent outscored me in secondary, and even that guy who was playing Imperial Knights and doesn't do secondaries super well with that army, I still only beat his secondaries by 1, and so I needed to add some scoring to the list. And there's different reasons I didn't score and stuff. You guys can go watch those videos, though. We don't need to do the analysis right now. Here's the new list. Here's the list that I took to this GT and this RTT. Sorry, I don't mean to be getting too grand for my britches. So I added Vulkan because I have so many flamers in this list, guys, and you can find the full list to this in the video description, guys. That is something that you can find. So if you want to know if I used a plasma pistol or a flamer or whatever, you can find all the nitty-gritty in the video description. But the reason I'm taking Vulkan is I just have so much torrent in the list. There's a ton of torrent, and I know that this list isn't perfect. We're still going to be working on different iterations of the Firestorm, but I have 2 squads of Infernus. I broke that 10-man squad down into 2 5-mans. I added a Combi lieutenant and some scouts to be able to help me score. To go with Vulkan, I added company heroes, and I wanted to put an impulsor in there, but you can't put Vulkan in an impulsor. He's not a Tacticus model, and so if Vulkan's with the company hero squad, they don't get a transport unless it's one of the repulsors, which is very silly to me. But anyways, then I do have 10 Vanguard vets who set things on fire. It's pretty fun. They all have hand flamers. The Infernus, Adrax has a flamer, Vulkan has a flamer, the Land Raider Redeemer has 2 their flamers, torrent weapons, whatever you want to call them. So lots of stuff. This is a really fun list, guys, and you'll see it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun to be had. A lot of jump intercessors, all this stuff. So here's my opponent's list. We're facing, like I said, Invasion Fleet, and once I post game 2, that'll be either linked at the end of this video or it'll be linked in the video description, hopefully both of them, but one way or another. This list is a little bit scary. It's got 3 lictors and the lictor character, which is called Death Leaper, so he basically has 4 lictors. It's scary. He also has a big block of termagants and there hanging out next to a Turvagon, which I haven't seen a Turvagon before. But my opponent, he's got the special distinction in the sense that he was one of the people who beat me at the GT. I went 4-2. He was one of the 2 losses that I had. He ended up only losing 1 game that entire time, and so facing Miguel Fuentes here. I'll turn my face off for now. You guys, I know, just obviously tragically sad that you don't get to see it anymore, but it'll come back eventually. Just hang on, hold on to your butts, folks. So we're facing Miguel Fuentes, and you can see the little arrow that I pointed, the 62. I got a 61 against him, and I was very close to beating him. You guys can go watch the report for that game. We don't need to recap it, but it was a good match. He's a good player, and one thing I really enjoy about facing Miguel is that we can both laugh about things, and we have a very similar sense of humor. So he's a really great player. It was a really... I didn't want to face a great player on round 1. I was still sleepy a little bit, still like, we got to warm into this. But he's a good player, and we got paired in round 1. Against a guy who went 5-1 at the last GT, got the best Tyranid score in the entire 100-person tournament, and now I get to face him here again, one of the few guys who beat me. So we're playing Tipping Point, which is kind of the staggered Dawn of War short table edge deployments. This is a very common one at tournaments. And then we're playing Scorched Earth, which is an interesting one. This one is essentially you can score a maximum of 2 onto 2 different objectives, including your own, and so it's really easy to get that 10 usually. The big thing is if you want to get a bigger score, you have to burn the objectives. You set the middle objectives on fire, and if you let your opponent do that, then that sucks, man. It's because you can't get those points back, and you can't score on that objective anymore. So you got to be cautious. Here's the objectives with the glowy circles showing you guys the where all the stuff is. Now, his list here, you guys can go, I will put the link to the Best Coast Pairings website for this. You can look up his list, and as it was entered into the tournament, I do believe that if you want to look at the list, you have to pay like a $5 subscription fee or something like that, so you don't have to do it, but this is the best I could do. I'm not going to go in, guys. These video reports already take a really long time, so I'm not going to copy his list perfectly. Here's all the stuff he got. The one thing I'll point out is, well, first off, Gene Stealers with a Broodlord. He had 10 Gene Stealers with a Broodlord. Coming in from reserves, Gargoyles can deep strike. They're really fast. They're frustrating. Look at the Hive Tyrant, though. The Hive Tyrant gives his list and all the models in an aura a lot of really good boosts, and you can see he's kind of leaning toward that expansion objective, and so that kind of informed how I was going to deploy as well. Well, at least it informed my game plan, I should say. Now, he also weighted 3 of his lictors on the top objective up there that you can't see as well, but there's 2 lictors and a Death Leaper, and then he's got another lictor on the other objective. Tyrannifexes, it's a scary list, guys. A lot of big dudes. Here's my list. Kind of went a little more central. I don't have anything in the Repulsor Executioner. Sometimes we're putting in a squad of Infernus in there, sometimes not. Vulkan Company Heroes. I was a little bit dumb and put his Company Heroes marker, the one that gives him 10 OC, which is a really nice reason to take Vulkan. I put it on the center objective, and then I put him on the side next to that objective. It was fairly foolish of me. Please don't judge me, but I put both of the marks from, you can mark an objective to get a reroll 2 wound, on reroll 1s on wounds, as long as your Combi Lieutenant is alive, and that one's in the center objective as well, and then Vulkan's special objective as well, right there. So good times. The idea here, well, we'll talk about my ideas here, guys. Let's talk about who he ended up. Well, he gave me first deploy, and then I also ended up with first turn. So let's talk about strategy and what we've got to do here, folks. God, this is a really scary list, folks. Lots of high toughness, big bodies, and there's a lot of little bugs and stuff as well. So we're gonna have to be able to take out all of that stuff. And we kill the little stuff really well with all of our torrent, but the big stuff, we don't have as much Melta as we used to, but we do have Vulkan, who knows. One thing I did notice though, folks, is he doesn't have a lot of really tough melee units. Yes, the Tyrant can do some stuff, the big guys can do a little bit of damage, but a lot of them, like the Exocrines, only have a couple attacks, and sure, they'll do a little damage to Marines, but I have a lot of Marine bodies, so that's a nice advantage. The Gene Stealers will absolutely eat my lunch if I'm not careful, so, I mean, he's not devoid of melee units, but he doesn't have as many as a lot of other Tyranid lists. He doesn't have the Exocrines, he doesn't have, well, there's a lot of stuff he doesn't have. We don't need to talk about that, though. He does have a lot of good shooting. It's a very well-balanced list. Good for team play as well, which we're not playing team tournament, of course, but I think this is an iteration of that kind of list. So I also am at a disadvantage because he's going second, which means if we get to the full end of the game, on turn 5, he can just burn an objective, and I won't have any way to respond to that. I can't stop him. He just walks onto the objective and burns it, and then because it's the final turn, it just automatically completes without me having a turn to stop him from doing it. So that's a disadvantage. The one thing I will note here, and it kind of shaped my plans for the whole game in a lot of ways, he put his Tyrant really far close to his expansion objective, which it makes sense that he'd want to do that. He wants that really bad so that he can score on it, and there's like a big piece of terrain there to kind of just guard him and keep anyone from the middle from getting in there. But then also it makes sense, he has his Gene Stealers in reserve, which means he's probably going to just go for my home objective, so he can kind of go to expansion objective, then go take my home. This is one of those few missions where taking someone's home objective is really strong, because if you can get their home objective, you can burn it for 10 primary points. It's a big swing if you can do it, and so he's obviously just trying to take that whole flank. So we gotta really look at that. You can see how the Tyrant's placed though, and so there's gonna be a rapid ingress from Gene Stealers probably on that side. Obviously we gotta watch out for the other side, but it just seems like that's probably what he's gonna do. So the idea is we have to take our own expansion objective. We've got Vulkan over there, we've got some Vanguard vets, we got the Executioner, and these pieces of terrain are really blocking off other big chunks of the field, and so we gotta be careful, and we just want to make sure that that Land Raider is there and able to support either side for when he starts really making his move on his go turn, so to speak. And so we're going to have to pressure that center objective, because if he really, really overloads that expansion objective on his side, we won't be able to contest. We won't be able to mess with it. It's just too many bodies, too much stuff. The middle objective, though, might offer, we got to at least play the contest game, make it so that he can't hold it, even if we can't hold it, etc. So let's see what we can do, folks. Okay, so I got Secure No Man's Land. I decided not to throw away Marked for Death. I was going to need CP anyways, and Marked for Death was a good opportunity for me to get that. But I also needed to be getting more CP instead of just trashing it right away. His army doesn't have a lot of it. So here's what the army looks like, what the board looks like before anything happened. We have just piles of guys as usual. And so here, just showing you guys, I did move everything up. The Land Raider is kind of in the back there. I checked for a little bit, trying to make sure. The Rupture Cannons from the Tyranofexes, he's not going to be able to see that Land Raider where it's at. And it's a place that I can conceivably get the Bladeguard, if I really wanted him to, onto that center objective next turn, probably, depending on my rolls and everything. I did move up the company heroes with Vulkan, and the Van Vets with the Captain. It's tough to explain exactly how things were placed, but the Vanguard Vets couldn't see any of the Lictors the way I had placed them. I just wanted them all tucked into that ruin so nothing could see them. But it was also just awkward because nothing could see them. So we'll zoom in here. And you can see the van, well, you can see that the Van Vets are there, but they can't see the lictors, unfortunately. It was just, the terrain was a little bit weird, and no shade on Collectormania. They say they're trying to improve their stuff, and this is honestly way better than at least one other tournament that I've been to recently. And I'm not trying to throw shade, at least they have some footprints for the buildings and stuff. I didn't really have an issue with it, but you'll see that sometimes the terrain is a little weird, and we'll just forgive them that, because why can't we be gracious, right guys? So anyways, Vulkan and the Vets, they all staged inside of that building. Van Vets can't see anything, and that's fine. So Vulkan and the heroes, though, they did, you can advance with Salamanders, with Firestorm, and still shoot. And so I ended up only doing 4 wounds to the Death Leaper. I think I got even like 5 hits and a bunch of wounds with the heavy bolter, and because it's company heroes, it's a heavy bolter that does 3 damage each, and Death Leaper did fail 1 save, and then Vulkan did like 8 or 9 wounds to Death Leaper, and he just saved all of them with his invuln save, which he had told me he had an invuln save. I just didn't process it, so I had given him the moment and everything. I should have just targeted Lictor 1 there instead of Death Leaper, because Lictor 1 would have just died in a blaze of glory. But we got him, turned Marked for Death into CP, and scored No Man's Land, Secure No Man's Land, which is a really nice one to get on your first turn. So jump up to 5 points, and my opponent got Cleanse and Engage on all fronts. Engage on all fronts is a tough one to get on turn 1, because you have to get into all of the different table quarters. Cleanse is pretty good on most turns, as long as you can control objectives. In No Man's Land, you can score on them. So the lictors walked to you got one of the lictors to do cleanse in the middle there, because I'm not really holding it. I just have that combi lieutenant, which he's gonna run away from the lictor because he's scared, and then the other lictor scores cleanse. So good for them that they brought their cleaning solution. And then with the little round things that you guys can see here, the gargoyles ran up to do a screen, because I don't have a screenshot of where the gargoyles are. I'm sorry, it's tough to do in a tournament game, guys, get perfect pictures every single turn. But they did a big screen so that I couldn't get to any of the models behind them, really. And but it's only a 10-man gargoyle squad, so it doesn't have perfect full coverage. He also got a good number of those Gants onto the middle objective as well. And then the Death Leaper and the other lictor that are there, they charge Vulkan and the company heroes, and they get strikes first, which is one of the reasons I didn't want to charge in the first place, because he would just heroic intervene. He'd be able to kill a bunch of Marines. Didn't want that. So anyways, I did heroic intervention here instead, which was very fancy of me, I thought. Just burning through my CP already, but the heroic intervention was nice. He did a full reverse. Instead of attacking Vulkan's squad, he killed about 5 Vanguard Vets, which is pretty sad. Lictors are just so good for their points, guys. They're so impressive. They just eat scouts lunch for the same number of points. Lictors do so much more. But I killed 5 Van Vets, but I did manage to kill both of them on his turn. So scratched half of the lictors from the board. That's nice. And he ended up getting 4 on cleanse. He turned Engage on all fronts into CP. So going into my turn, it's 5-4. And my objective, I've got Storm Hostile, which is an important one to be able to get, since he holds an objective we could potentially take. And Cull the Horde, which I have to keep. We'll talk about it, guys. Let's discuss the strategy afoot. Okay, so this is the first time I've had to keep Cull Horde that I could actually complete the mission. He has 20 Termagants, and that makes me have to keep it. And if I kill this squad, I get 5 points. But I'm kind of in position to take him out, which is a little exciting. I've never scored Cull the Horde, and it's fun that it rhymes as well. Never scored Cull the Horde. and I just want to be above board about it, guys. If there's a big Tyranid nearby, I'm sure my guys will get gored. Okay, I'm done. I apologize. So the Gants are all on the objective. They do have a reactive move, so we got to be cognizant of that. They're gonna try to escape, and the Tervagon is just hanging out there. He calls her like Big Mama or something like that, which is a little bit sad that we have to kill those things. But there's also, this is the reason I split those Infernus squads, folks. We can actually target 2 different things with 2 different squads. Who knew? So we can have one of the Infernus squads burninate those screaming gargoyles with the little rings you guys see there. So we can go there, and if he's going to put his get his Gene Stealers in as rapid ingress or something, then we can have those Infernus there to kind of serve as like a kind of a block, a screen to stop him from getting fully on that objective and taking it like way back to my back zone. And we can get an Overwatch on him, which is only with 5 guys, but still not too bad. And then we can also have another squad of Infernus in the middle that can burninate some of the Termagants in the middle. And then we can have the jump units. They can jump in and get some charges off and just wipe out the Gaunt squad and kind of tie things up for my opponent, because he didn't really move that close to the objective, and we might just be able to pull something off. One of the reasons it's even possible for any of this to work, of course, is his Hive Tyrant was a little bit out of place. And of course, I'm not trying to be a jerk about this, but just as far as analysis goes, he wants his Tyrant clearly like protecting or supporting that flank that is on his expansion objective. And whereas that's a good move, that's also one of the only credible melee units in his entire list, on his entire line, that's actually available right now. We've killed the Lictors for the most part, and now we can we can hopefully just jump in and start punching big bugs right in the face with the jump intercessors. And so if we can just tie him up and make it all a big mess, that Tyrant isn't in a place he can heroically intervene and just wipe a squad. He can't do that, and so we can kind of do some weird stuff. Let's at least try, I suppose. Okay, I scored 10 on primary, which is the max you can get without burning one of the objectives, so not too bad. So we had those bottom Infernus squads move up and kill all the gargoyles, which was great. Needed that to happen. You on average get about 17 hits with those guys, and you're able to get, what, in that case, like 15 wounds. So it was right around average. I might have been able to shoot a couple with like scouts or something if I needed to, but I don't think that was necessary this time. And so you can see that he did rapid ingress these Gene Stealers and the Broodlord. He did it right outside of where I was able to shoot with the Infernus, because otherwise maybe I would have just shifted my full shooting into those guys anyways if I could have, but he wisely kept them 12 inches out. So you can see also that he's got his Tyrant not in a place that is going to be able to mess with or support that middle objective. The Land Raider Redeemer moved up, and his Tyrannifexes were in a place that it's like, well, he's going to be able to see the Land Raider with one of them no matter what next turn. So let's move up to support that objective, but stay somewhere in the middle so that even if it gets destroyed, the Bladeguard can go over and support wherever it needs to support. And it managed to, I just shot everything into the Lictor that was on the objective, cleansing the objective. So nice, got 3 out of those 4 Lictors dead. And then I also, you can see the black square, the rectangle, whatever, that was full of Termagants, and I didn't get a picture of it before. We also, it's supposed to have a ruin on it, guys. It was just so clunky and tough to maneuver. We just ended up removing it for a little bit at least. You might see it in other pictures, but the Infernus walked up, burninated some of those Gaunts, and then you can see the Vanguard Vets on the top. They were able, if there's only 5 of them left, 6 I guess if you count the captain, and they were able to burn a lot of the Gaunts as well. And then we also have the Jump Pack Intercessors who moved up on the right. They got overwatched by the Nero Lictor, which stupid lictors, man, they're rough. But they did Overwatch, killed a couple of our guys, but they ended up charging, and I didn't get. Gosh, you'll see in a minute. The Repulsor Executioner moves up, shoots the Tervagon, gets 2 wounds on the stupid thing, and opponent, of course, just made both of his 5-up saves, and they didn't do any damage, hardly. So we did a little damage to the Tervagon, killed all 20 of those Gaunts, however, and we put 8, I rolled way below average on his Nero Lictor and got him down to 2, but he almost, we could have killed him, but we didn't. So that was pretty sad. Oh, there's the slide that talks about he barely survived, but you know, those jump intercessors, man, what a disappointment. All those missed Hammer of Wrath shots that I did on him, very sad. And the Nero Lictor said something extremely rude. You can look at the screen. It's a good Zoolander reference, folks. Kind of. So, anyways, we did tie up that center, though, and you can see all his shooting guys are way back from the front, or the middle objective, and so we're kind of just tying everything up. Of course, he's way overloaded on the bottom there. We do have a stronghold on our expansion objective, so it's an interesting situation to be in for sure. Killed all of those Gants though, which was wonderful. It's tough because they also had 5-up Feel No Pain, and I just had such high volume of fire that we just managed to wipe them out. So anyways, got 5 for Cold Horde. And Storm Hostile objective, he had controlled the middle objective to be able to cleanse, of course, so we took that one over, no problem, and jumped up to 24. It looks really bad right now, 24-4. Of course, he hasn't scored his primary yet, so that'll change, or any of his secondaries, for that matter. So he got no prisoners and Defend Stronghold, both extremely good ones to be able to score on. Of course, he's going to be trying to kill at least 3 units of mine with no prisoners. No prisoners is just a gimme, almost. As long as he doesn't completely whip. I don't know how he could not get 3. Even if he has a moderately bad turn, he'll get 3 kills. So, anyways, he got 10 on his primary, of course, and which is the most you can get. And so now 14-24, much more reasonable. And so let's just start with the really depressing news. The Tyranids shoots my fully healthy Executioner 1 shot. I mean, he gets 2 shots, but you got both of them to hit, both of them to wound. I failed both of my 5-up armor saves, and he dies. Boom, just 1 shot, 1 kill, 175 points, dead. Then the other Tyranids moved up and shot my Land Raider Redeemer, and I failed both of my saves there. He hit both times, wounded both times. He didn't have to re-roll anything. He just rolled out everything naturally, and then I failed both of my saves on that thing, and it exploded. So, not exploded, but they both died, which is so disappointing, guys. Just casually, 2 guys that are less than 200 points each walk up, kill both of my toughness 12. It doesn't matter. Tough 12 doesn't matter to Tyranids, as I get it. You know, they're like strength 18 or something ridiculous, but still, they're tough tanks to kill. They have 16 wounds, and they both just so casually got swatted. Last time I faced the same opponent, he couldn't roll to save his life, and those tanks actually lived the entire game. And the fact that he just blew them up his second turn so casually, he actually said, he was like, dude, it was kind of just BS that I was able to kill both of your tanks in 1 turn. I was like, yeah, it was, but I mean, you got to learn to deal with that, right? I mean, that's part of the risk of this list. I have 2 tanks, so we can just focus everything on my tanks. Just still very demoralizing, though, right? So the Gene Stealers got overwatched by the Infernus, of course, because they're not just going to stand there quaking in their boots, if they even wear boots. About 5, an overwatch from the 5 Infernus, but so I ended up killing 3 of them, which is probably around average. I mean, their strength 6 hits. I averaged 17 hits, strength 6, so you're gonna wound like 12 times, something like that. He's got a 5-up save, something like that. So Yeah, killing 3.5, something like that. Somewhere around there is the average. And then, of course, they got the charge. And you'll note, I didn't put anyone close to that squad because I knew that if he wanted to take the home objective, he was going to charge those Infernus. He had to. So we charged the Infernus, got on the objective, but he wasn't able to, like, consolidate into a different squad. I wanted him to eat that squad, which is sad, but I mean, they killed 3, so that's fine. It's a good sacrifice. And then I'd be able to take them out because they're just out in the open. In theory, I'd be able to drive the Land Raider Redeemer up and just have a Gene Stealer roast, but obviously not possible now. But he did get over there, and then he does have a lot of shooting in his back zone, and he managed to kill all of the jump marines, and the tyrant also trundled his way into the center to charge. And so between the tyrant shooting and charging, the Turvagon, the Maleceptors, no, not Maleceptors, the the shooty guys, the Exocrines, they're hanging out, the Tyrannifex, all of those guys, the stupid Nerolictor, all shot, and they killed all of the Marines except for the Captain. The Captain lived. Captain was fine. Captain was like, dude, I don't know why you guys all got roasted. I'm doing good. But all the other jump Marines died. However, he's not on the objective, guys. He stole my back objective, but he never took the middle, which means we get to score on the 2 objectives that we can anyways. So, kind of cool. He ended up getting, obviously, 5 for no prisoners easily, and then waiting for the final results of Defense Stronghold. Of course, I have 1 turn to stop him from holding his home objective, so he goes up to 19. Close game so far, folks. Very close game. I ended up getting no prisoners in Defense Stronghold as well, just in a weird, just really fortuitous for me. I mean, I didn't have to make a different slide for this. That was very helpful. That was really just heroic intervention from God or something, because I didn't have to make. This slide was easy to make. All right, so gosh, lots happened, and we've gotta develop the game. Gosh, what a rough turn, guys. Killing both vehicles. I figured maybe he'd kill one. I mean, I think the most typical thing that happens is he kills 0 of them because I probably make one of those saves, or he misses with one of them or fails to wound. I mean, the odds are extremely against him killing both vehicles with both Tyrannifexes, with no rerolls or anything. He just naturally rolled it. It happens. It's, oh man, what a demoralizing thing. And then, of course, for more or less, though, those Infernus were perfectly positioned. It happened exactly the way I was hoping for. That he's holding that home objective, and I mean that's not good, but I thought he was going to do that anyways. And now those Gene Stealers are just out in the open. I wanted to roast them with the Land Raider that no longer exists, but I think we have the tools to deal with this. Probably, we've got a couple different things we can do this turn, and we just really have to focus on maximizing what we can do. Honestly, take care of those Gene Stealers, do something fun with the Captain, and then just do the best we can in the middle. What can we do? I suppose we'll see. I mean, I wasn't really sure. As long as we're holding objectives, though, guys, and maintaining it, getting secondaries is going to be key, of course, so let's get to it. So I scored another 10 on primary, and of course, no prisoners and Defense Stronghold. We'll have to see. The no prisoners, obviously, we got to try to kill stuff anyways, so that's a nice one to get. Defense Stronghold. Hopefully, we can hold our Stronghold after this. So let's go in order from the least delightful thing that happened this turn to the most delightful. So we'll start with the Bladeguard on the home objective. They got pissed. They flamed those Gene Stealers and blendered the heck out of them. It was really nice. And they all died. I didn't lose it. I think it looks like maybe... Oh no, that wound marker is my opponent's wound marker. I killed him so hard that his wound marker stayed where it was. So, took back the home field. Of course, they're staring at that Tyrannifex with his overly compensating cannon there, but he is hanging out. And then the middle Marines, he had a Lictor on the home objective, I believe. I think that's where he was. You never know, folks. You never can tell with Lictors, but I think we finally got that fourth one out. The multi-meltas had barely anything to shoot, but I mean, that's enough. Just kill a Lictor. We can just get some guys onto that objective so that if he tries to take it, we can make some decisions. At that point, I specifically added those ERADs where they are so that if he puts any of his he only has big creatures available for that objective to be able to contest that objective, and as long as those ERADs are there, we could at least overwatch, and because they're all monsters, I would be able to reroll to hit, which of course it's a 6, but I'd get 4 total shots, rerolls, and if we could spike anything on them, we could actually get some real damage on those guys before anything else happened. So kind of nice to just have them there ready to shoot those stupid jerk face monsters before they get on the objective. And then finally, folks, the most delightful thing, the jump captain survived. The Narrow Lictor did overwatch, and I barely survived, but he jumped over to the Biovore and punched him to death. I think I set him on fire too. I mean, the hand flamer doesn't do much damage, but I might have been able to do a couple, maybe 1 wound with that, and then just punched the dude to death. I made sure, I don't think my opponent had any CP at this point. We're both just burning through our CP like crazy this game, but I don't think that he was able to get his Exocrine in to also to be able to heroically intervene or anything. I made sure he couldn't do that. Punched the Biovore to death, and I took his home objective, guys. This is a big deal for a couple reasons. First off, he doesn't get to score on that one. He's only holding 1 objective right now, so he's only going to get 5 primary this turn. Also, he's got Defend Stronghold, so he's not going to get 3 for defending his stronghold for that objective, and he's going to have to keep Defend Stronghold for next turn and decide if he wants to get rid of it or try to do it again. So, huge, awesome move from the captain, the jump captain. Just hero material, guys. Just really cool stuff. It felt that was probably my favorite thing about that turn. There was a lot of cool stuff that actually happened, because every time a Lictor dies is a good day. Every time all the Gene Stealers your opponent has dies, every time they die, that's a good thing. And so we scored 5 for no prisoners. He's not in a place to take my Defense Stronghold at this point, so we just scored that as well, shooting us up to 44. We're doubling his score. Of course, he hasn't had a turn. He doesn't have a chance to take his turn 3 yet. So we got Containment, which is something you can. It's like such an overpowered secondary mission, especially for a list like his. So we can do Containment, get 6 off of that, and then he decided to keep Defend Stronghold, which makes sense because he's going to be able to retake his base, and then I'm not going to be able to do anything about that at that point. So anyways, he did score 5 instead of 10 for primary, which is really nice. And so we're still ahead by 20 points, but you guys will see it. That number shrinks quite a bit. Now, the Tervagon got close to the ERADs, and I decided I didn't want to wait any longer. And the ERADs, or the Tervagon, had taken a lot of damage, both from the charges from the Van Vets, and the Executioner had done like 3 other wounds to it. I mean, it's a tough thing to kill, and the Executioner just has a bunch of pretty small arms fire after the laser destroyers get saved on his 5-ups. So anyways, we overwatched. I spiked a little bit and just killed this silly, stupid creature. So that was amazing. Thank goodness for that. I mean, I could have maybe killed that Nero Lictor instead, but I would rather kill that thing with a ton of wounds. And I mean, it's kind of a scary big creature. Anyways, the captain died of Exocrine. He just got shot, maybe he got charged to death. One way or another, Exocrine's holding that objective, but the objective is behind a big hill, so that Exocrine is kind of just rendered useless for the rest of the game. And the ERADs did die from combined shooting from all of the stuff. He had an Exocrine, he had the Tyrant, he had the Nero Lictor, he had a Tyrannifex, so that they actually saved a couple times. I rolled really nicely on the saves that I could save, but of course they did just die. And then the Gargoyles landed in the corner there. They did an action for containment, and then the Tyrannifex, already having just blown up the Land Raider, and really he's not that effective into Bladeguard anyways. He just decided to do containment over there to get more secondaries, which was really funny to see a Tyrannifex doing containment instead of shooting his strength 18 gun at me, but it makes sense. Honestly, those 3 points were way more important than maybe killing 1 or 2 Bladeguard. So he ended up scoring 9 more, and I'm ahead here, but not insurmountably much. It's kind of a precarious situation. Unfortunately, we kind of ran out of time at this point. We'd just been kind of laughing and joking, like just kind of not treating it as tournament worthy as it should be. Like, we were kind of laughing, we were taking it seriously, but still, I mean, we could have been more serious and moved quicker. And so we ran out of time. So here's the final moves that I would have done. He was pretty sure that he would have been able to win, and and I was too. Here's my argument for why I thought I was going to win. So he said he'd be able to move his gargoyles in and burn the objective, and then he'd be able to burn 2 objectives in a row, basically. And so I kind of don't agree, though. So those gargoyles are all single wound. I still have Vulkan and half of the heroes, and so I can have Vulkan get into that, like he could just advance and stand onto that footprint, see the gargoyles, and do his flamer. Probably wouldn't kill all of them, obviously not. He can only get a maximum of 9 shots, but he could probably, almost certainly, kill 4 of them at a minimum, probably more. And then when they moved to take that objective, he could overwatch and kill another minimum of 4 as well. And even if they took that objective, they wouldn't be able to keep it long enough to burn it, because I'd be able to shoot them and kill them. And I think they would die before they could even land on the objective, frankly. So I'm pretty sure that could have happened. And then in the middle, he's just going to get it. All the Erads are dead. I have just a bunch of chaff. I have like the scouts, the combi lieutenant, whatever's left of our Infernus Marines. They can't beat a Tyrant and a Nero Tyrant and an Exocrine. There's no way. They just can't. But they could, and a Tyrannifex, he can just have that one. He can totally have that one, because you know what? He can't hold that back objective, because those big monsters, they can't go through the walls. They can't do it. So they'll have to choose which one they want, and the Bladeguard can just go there, and I don't know, it might take a while, but mostly with Adrax giving them rerolls to wound, and then me using a stratagem to have +1 to wound, the Tyrannifex is going to die a lot faster than a lot of people think. Like, I actually think they would kill him in 2 turns of melee. And then I'd be able to hold that objective and take that one out. I don't think he'd be able to hold that objective regardless of what happens. And I don't think there's anything that he can do with that, unless the Tyrant goes over there, in which case the stuff in the middle is going to be able to kill. Like, I'll be able to take out the Nerolictor, almost certainly, and then bog down the Exocrine and the Tyrannifex, maybe. I mean, it would be a big mess, but I'm pretty sure, especially with my lead, I would have ended up winning anyways. I don't know for sure. We just never know. We can't know these things, but that's my take on it, folks. Anyways, let's go to the final results and move right along. So I ended up getting the win, 52 to 43, not the highest scoring, of course, but I do think I probably would have been able to win. I don't know for sure. But you never know. You never can tell with bees, but it does seem like I'd be able to. So final thoughts here, folks. I'm just so sick of how easy those 2 vehicles are to kill. The Repulsor Executioner with a 3-up save it's just sad. It does a lot of stuff. You guys will see in a little bit that they can do a lot. I mean, a lot of games they do a lot, but for 220 points, just getting casually swatted by something at 175 points in 1 turn, having it happen twice, having my other vehicle that's at 275, or maybe it's even 285, just casually dead in 1 turn. The very first time you can actually see them to shoot them. I mean, I got unlucky. it makes me sad, because it never happens the other way around, it feels like, and that's just how it goes. That's the theme. So yeah, casually losing both of them really did feel bad. I'm considering new lists because of that, actually, but we'll talk about that in a different video. So splitting the Infernus Marines into 2 small squads ended up really good. Like, having that tactical flexibility is really nice. And even though the theoretical Overwatch is a little bit less, and you know, you can really mess with people if you have a whole big squad of Infernus Marines that are ready to Overwatch. It was still just nice. Having 5 of them ready to Overwatch those Gene Stealers was just so wonderful. And then the other 5 could go do other things. They have time for activities too. It's wonderful. And the Scouts, it didn't really bear out in this game. Like, the Scouts kind of just fumbled around because the Lictors are scary. Lictors just kill Scouts, and the Scouts want to know nothing to, like, why would I just gift him the Scouts? But at the same time, if he has something that just eats those Scouts, the Scouts aren't going to do that much, really. And so maybe there was something better I could do with them. They were kind of just waiting. I kept trying to do, like, uppy with them and get rid of them, and then he kept ending his moves, like, just barely within 6 inches of them. So they just kept standing there awkwardly, just huddled around there, like, just covering themselves so they didn't get kicked in the nuts. But yeah, the Scouts have been doing well in this list. They didn't do that well in this game, I realize. So I'll tell you about the next match in just a minute. As far as what's the next event, I'll be playing another Rogue Trader tournament in December, so it'll be the weekend after Thanksgiving weekend. Thanksgiving weekend is coming very soon for me as of the recording of it, and then I'll be playing probably this same Firestorm list. I don't think I'm going to make any changes for it, but then there'll be a Colorado team tournament, which I'll definitely be doing videos for. And team tournament, the team format, super interesting. We'll be talking about that. Also be playing Firestorm. And then the goal is to have the Gladius list I've been working on, practicing on. I did a battle report for it just as my last video. That list is definitely something that is still in the works. Hopefully get it done by the January Open, which is the weekend right before Las Vegas Open. I'm not going to Las Vegas Open, but it's kind of seen as a practice tournament for people going to the LVO. So I'll have the link to all of the first 2 events in the video description, as well as the Collectormania event that I'm at right now, like that I'm showing you guys the report for. Those will all be linked in the video description if you really want to see how everything turned out. If you want to do spoilers for yourself, you know, do it at your own peril. So what's next? Facing demons. Gosh, I've never faced Shalaxi, never faced Keeper of Secrets. It's a scary one, guys. It's terrifying, but we got the first win, which huge shout out to my opponent, of course. Great opponent, really fun. Really fun playing against a top level player who can actually laugh about things. And now we get to see if we can continue the madness against demons. So guys, please remember to leave a like if you think of it, if you can. That would really help the channel. You know, subscribe, all that stuff. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers, which would really help boost this channel quite a bit, guys. At the end of the day, yeah, I really appreciate all of you. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember that if you didn't hear it from me, it's probably heresy. I'll see you next time, guys. I'll show you game 2. It'll be fun. For someone, at least. Take care.